I thought.
I didn't even see my comments. I don't look at that.
Judy coming today? She's in Florida.
Judy's not present.
That's why we moved you over here. Actually, I was supposed to sit there.
All right. I'd like to thank you and welcome you all to the Berwick Planning Board meeting for this Thursday, April 5th, 2012. If you would all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Once again, good evening and thanks for joining. Some introductions. To my left is Ron Morrell. I am Carrie Ashburn. To my right is Paul Bovair. And to his right is Peter Perry. First up on our agenda, we have a public hearing that is requested to be continued. I will turn it over to Peter Perry, who was running this public hearing, to decide what you want to do with that.
I have no issues really around continuation until they're prepared to come back before us, and we'll just continue it. I do have a couple of quick comments about a couple of things that we discussed the last time. I don't know if anybody else has any other comments or questions first.
None.
Ron?
No.
Well, a couple of quick comments. One is that originally I had questioned the calculation sheet that John, our engineer, had given us versus what I had seen on a set of plans. Since then, I have seen the actual stamp plans. John's calculations match what's on the stamp plan, so the calculations he originally presented to us were the calculations that matched what was on the plan, so that's a cleared-up issue. The second little point is, I think I still would like to see some clarification about, and I know the whole issue of the land lease now is probably a little bit up in the air with the abatement project and stuff, but as the lease stands, I think we should have some clarification as to whether permission is required from Bateman Associates to allow any additional parking or whatever that may be required by the ordinance for the police station. I'm curious how the rest of the board feels about that we should maybe have some letter or something for the record that either they give us permission or they don't give us permission or no permission is required for it.
Would they be like an affidavit?
Well, something like that. I mean, the other night at the site walk, I asked Keith about it, and he said he was under the impression that around that the language was such in the land lease deed that was such that adjacent properties around the building were not covered by that permission clause that was in the lease itself. But I think possibly we need some interpretation from somebody, third party or some Maine municipal or whomever. I don't really think that Alan, town attorney, is actually appropriate because he was part of drawing up the lease and stuff, and I'd rather have a third party. Just for the record, that would either say, yes, we need some form of sign off from them if we need to have more parking or et cetera. Because ultimately, going forward, that may also become an issue with the community center parking.
The note that Joan sent us through email last week, referring to page 46, where the minimum standards or additional parking spaces shall be required. It kind of, I read that and it kind of looks like that she may be correct that we have means of waiving the requirements one way or the other. I don't know if we want to discuss that, but.
I don't really, we can talk about that a little bit if you like. I also saw the email from Joe and I also read what was in the ordinance. What was in the email was one sentence, that whole paragraph. To me, I think the paragraph more is meant in case of hardships, like where you had existing buildings and very little property around them. We do have a site up there that has 10 acres of property around it.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't think there's an issue of sufficient space to put sufficient parking. So yes, that language is
But
there.
what about the tarred part? Would you wanna see all that tarred for all that parking?
Well, there are other alternatives for parking and stuff. There's some of these other type of products they use where they basically use concrete. I don't know the names of them. Our engineer, John, could probably know a lot more about this and could query him about it. But there's things where you basically have, you're like a concrete mat type thing, and grass grows up in the centers, but it's kind of like a honeycomb effect that they lay down so that it basically is kind of almost like an impervious lawn, but it has the durability of, a concrete backing and stuff. I think there's some other alternatives other than asphalt that could be pursued, but
Yeah, I think that's a restriction that we should look at anyway, just for general use.
see, I'm very concerned about parking. I mean, we don't have a tremendous parking problem yet in town, except for when I came down Tuesday evening to look at some paperwork. I got here about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There was one parking space available in the parking lot here. There was cars on both sides of the street and everything, but there was only about 3 people up voting. So, just the town hall's use, the downtown use, I think we have to be concerned and aware of parking should be a big issue, and we don't want to do such as towns like Portsmouth have done over the years, that they let bigger and more buildings go in and they keep waiving parking and stuff, and pretty soon you can't find a parking space anymore.
I guess what I'm asking is, if the committee designated the parking, and it couldn't be anything else, I'm wondering if that's where you could have a little more leniency with maybe keeping it gravel, as long as we designated that only to be parking really ever. It couldn't be a field or anything else, because we'd have to be able to park, I mean, I don't want you to decide that now. It's just, to me, when I read it, I'm thinking, okay, we definitely need the parking, because, you want to make sure that you don't have a huge traffic flow jam down there and people parking in the roads and all that. You don't want that. So, I mean, but if it's designated and made, not necessarily to have to buy these things that you're talking about, but even to gravel it and say this is just for parking, I don't know. Just
I think that
about
makes a lot
you
of
know.
sense.
That way you're not tarring everything. It's not asphalt everywhere.
You don't want to have a look that's going to look like a mall there.
Right. I mean,
Right,
it's a country.
I agree, but our ordinance gives us a little attitude of not requiring
Right.
all the parking necessary. But our ordinance says also over 20 parking, or over 19 parking spaces, basically, it has to be a paved and striped parking lot.
Right.
We don't have an option to waive that piece.
So you would want us to have 20 parking spaces or more paved? Enough, if it was the community center that was applying to go on the other?
No, I don't think that's what.
No, I'm not
You're
even
saying.
really talking about the community center. Right now, at this point in time, our ordinance would require roughly, I think, 56 parking spaces for the 8,400 square feet.
For the
of-
police department?
For the police department, if we considered it an office, office-type building.
I know, but I was asking you as a community center member. I was just curious to see if that could apply to that, if it does come up in front of you guys, to change it to that.
Well, I think there's a lot more latitude once we get to the community center parking, because of the fact that that's something that's gonna be used a lot less frequently than, say, the regular business parking that the police station's going to generate and stuff.
But when it does, it's gonna be a mass and full.
You're going to have, it'll be used less often, but I think when it is used, you're going to find a lot more people there.
Right, it'll be much more heavily used, particularly if, there's functions going on and
Right.
stuff. But, I mean, I think it's something we have to think long and hard. I mean, not long and hard, but we have to seriously think about. Parking can be a big issue, and I don't think there's any shortage of space up there. The issue is whether it becomes 2 acres of paved parking lot with stripes on it, or it becomes some other thing, whether it's gravel or something else that's fairly durable, I think that probably is open for
The
discussion.
paving above 19, it's not included in the
In
note
that-
on page
that
46. Yeah, but I think it's something we should look at and real soon, because it may not make sense today,
Right.
in this day and age.
I don't really think that waiver of not needing, or not requiring X amount of parking based upon the ordinance really is a strong argument, because it's not like you're in a very congested downtown place, there's no parking, buildings are right one on top of the other type of thing. There's a pretty big open site up there,
Yep.
and there's a lot of room to put a lot of parking up there.
As long as you have the space, we can always pave it 20 years from now.
So, I mean, those are just some thoughts that I think that still, I personally am looking for some answers when they come before us again. And if nobody has any other comments, I'd gladly close the discussion now and continue the public hearing till they can get back to us with the necessary information.
That sounds good.
Do we need a motion and a second on this? To continue?
And that's all you want to get.
So we table the public hearing until,
Would it make sense to continue the public hearing until they do come back?
Basically, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
We're
whether
gonna
it's-
have to do,
Yeah.
because you can't close the public hearing without everybody being here, so.
Yeah. So if you need a motion, do you think you need a motion to actually continue the public hearing then? Or just leave it, just table
I
it?
think if we just leave it open, it stays
Yeah,
continued.
that should be fine.
So no motion to continue. I don't really know how it,
I think if you
It's supposed
continue
to
it, it's
not.
still open. This is pretty much just tabling it till the next meeting. I think they're coming in May 3rd or something.
Well, that's the intent, but with some of the other things that are going on, that may not happen, but it'll end up back up on the agenda when it definitively does happen.
Do you want a motion?
Well, why don't we just have a motion a second, just so we.
I'll make a motion that we continue the public hearing into the next meeting, and then we'll take it from there.
second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
At this point, I guess I'll turn things back to our chair.
So next up, we have Brad Dudley at 503 Portland Street, map 72, lot 18, a coffee drive-through. Conditional use is continued from the last meeting. Hi. Good, how are you? So we conducted a site walk there on the 22nd of March. Some notes were submitted. Members that were present were myself, Peter Perry, Ron Morrell, and Judy Burgess. Paul, you had gone up
I
earlier.
attended just before you people did.
Individually. Issues discussed were buffering from adjacent residential property, traffic circulation and entrance and exit. Brad Ledley, applicant, stated he would be contacting the MDOT to see if he can reverse the entrance exit for better circulation. He described the area that he proposes to place picnic tables and parking for occasional use. Also discussed was lighting, signs, and where the portable toilet would be placed. Respectfully submitted, Judy Burgess, the secretary for us. So did you get in touch with MDOT? Where are you with that?
I have not yet. I mean, as I said at the last few meetings, we're gonna wait until I'll probably open the way it is and then have to come back, before the board. I just don't wanna get into something that I think is probably gonna be costly. I'm gonna have to repave the apron that's out front if they do grant me a wider entrance as I want. So best to not hold up the opening. I'm gonna wait a little while until I get open. I'll probably open the way it is, the way I submitted it.
Okay, so what kind of buffering do we talk about? Is seeing how they're gonna pull in straight on now?
Right.
Your hours that you're looking for operation are not in,
Not at night.
not at
Right,
night.
they're not at nighttime hours.
Do we have hours of operations on his application, Joan?
Yeah. 6 to 2.
6 AM to 2 PM?
Is that an application you have and we don't?
No, he sent an email to me.
Oh, so you have
Right.
So hours are 6 to
Right.
6 AM to,
62.
Seven days?
Right now, we're gonna be closed on Sunday, but we, for the board, yeah, I'd like to be open 7 days. Cause it may vary, May 6, may be 7, but.
Any questions for him?
Does it make any difference to us if we just note that he's gonna retain the parking, the entrance on the south end of the lot, but it may change to the north end of the lot at some future time? That should be all we need on that. To me, it's more natural to do it, the way that it's not set up now, but I
Right.
personally don't care.
I think if I'm, just correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's gonna be dictated by DOT, because I think we're all in the same boat, that
Yeah.
DOT must have had a reason why they did that, I think, and that's why I've gotta find out what the reason is, but yeah, if you wanna note that, we'll.
I
You could
don't
just
remember,
refer
I
to
just
DOT.
don't remember what was said about that to make it the way it was set up.
Before my time.
Hmm.
I'll find out. I don't think note that, I'm sure, but I'll let you know.
Peter, you got anything?
just about some buffering. And secondly is, I'm just looking at the conditional use that we put on Aroma or up the street here a few years ago when they came before us. And one of the comments here that should probably be added in this conditional use was, waste will be removed daily by a professional service. Or, something to the effect that, waste can't accumulate on site.
So buffering, what were you thinking? Were you thinking about doing anything, or because, I think, didn't we at the site walks say we weren't really concerned as long as he was doing the daylight hours?
Yeah, it was that, and also there was no window, I don't know if that matters, there's no windows, there weren't any windows on the house on that side facing me. So I didn't know if, and we're not open at nighttime right now, so have any plans to.
Yeah, there is. There's a window that faces.
Is there one window? I know what somebody had said there
You
wasn't
said
on the
it's a
garage
bedroom,
side.
right?
It's a bedroom.
Oh,
But with the cars entering on the north end, the lights.
But they're gonna enter on the south end until there's a change by DOT.
Right, they're gonna come right in and pull straight at the building.
This is where the other house is.
Yeah, I thought the house was further than I remembered originally, so I think it's probably
I
fine.
think there should be some form of either fencing or evergreen. I mean, I'm willing to admit there's quite a bit of
Space.
vegetative growth, a lot of, I think was poplar or something there, but this time of the year and all through the winter, there's no leaves on that, on what's there. And if he was opening at 7:30 in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning and open till 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, then I wouldn't worry about it. But 6 o'clock in the morning
It's still
and
dark.
in December, it's pretty dark. Even right now that we've changed the clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, it's still pretty dark. And, so I think there should be some form of buffering requirement.
Just for, tall enough to block out headlights.
Yeah.
I can handle that.
Yeah, so that would be listed in, as a condition for you.
I mean, it can be either a fencing or it can be
Or evergreen.
evergreen. There is some language in our ordinance referring to buffering.
Anything?
Nope, that's it.
So I guess at this time, take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the conditional use for Brad Dudley for coffee drive-through on Portland Avenue.
Looking for a second.
Second?
Do you have map law information? Do you need it?
No, map 17, lot 18.
Yep.
Yes.
Peter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
And Ron?
Yes.
Motion's passed.
So Joan will get a letter for you and all that. You can be in touch with her and she'll get you your conditional use and all that.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Thank-
good luck.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night. All right, next up we have Rita Ricker, 405 Portland Street, map R70, lot 14-B. A takeout food stand, conditional use has been continued. Hi. We were there the other night. As a matter of fact, we were there on March 22nd as well. Present were myself, Peter Perry, Ron Morrell, and Judy Burgess, and Paul had gone down earlier as well down there. And the applicants were present as well. Issues discussed were lighting, signs, and hours. Hours will be 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., and where the unit will be placed. Rita stated that the unit is about 8 feet wide and will be placed to the left of the landscaping business operated by her son, Jamie. He is the owner of the property. Respectfully submitted by Judy, once again. Paul, you went down separate. Did you see anything that you wanted to ask questions about?
No, I saw the flagging was as you enter on the left, and I would imagine that's where the activity's gonna take place, right? Be very visible from the road, but the sight distance seems to be fine. I didn't see any issues.
Yeah, we didn't either.
You gonna put up another sign?
We've got a big polling sign we might set out there for a while, but
Why, are you looking for a dog?
It's not, it's not gonna blink pink or anything then, right?
No neon.
No need on.
Any questions for the Rickers?
Not really. I
No.
mean, I don't think we had any buffering issues because any
Plenty of
neighbors and
space.
stuff.
I don't think lights are gonna shine on anyone, but,
Good sight
Work
distance
trailer.
pulling out, it's good. All right, looking
And
for a
we
motion.
had their hours, right?
11 to 9.
Yep.
And is there any other?
Is it every day of the week?
I'm gonna try it.
Yes, 7 days a week. All right, looking for a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Just one quick comment, I think, about, for Joan. I think the other comments are just the standard thing about signs and lighting that normally go on, things like that, that, you know, that they have to meet the ordinance or whatever. I don't think that impacts
Yeah.
motion or second.
Okay, so shall the board approve the conditional use permit for a takeout food stand at 405 Portland Street? It's map R70, lot 14B. Peter?
Yes.
Carrie?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
And Ron?
Yes.
Motion passed.
So you're all set? Joan will get you paperwork and everything, whatever, in a week.
we're gonna get a letter to us, is that include?
Excuse me?
We're gonna get something from you guys?
Joan will be getting you a conditional use permit.
I'll prepare the letter and then Carrie signs it, and then once you get that, then, Jim can issue the permit.
He's got septic plans already, I brought them in tonight, I'll give him the other 2 copies in the morning.
Okay, yep, just submit that with the town.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Yep, good luck.
I think.
If I work there, Rita, can I keep all the tips?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
again, I'll put you a big jar of.
You know, I wanted to put him out waving the flag to get him to come in.
You dress me up and put me on the highway.
All right, have a good night.
Time, don't you?
Yeah. I'm retired.
I'm retired.
You're not.
Have a good
You
night.
were.
Thank you.
All right, next is the approval of the minutes from March 15th, 2012's meeting. I looked at them. Did you?
I did.
You did?
They look good,
Good.
yeah.
Did you look at them, Peter?
Yes, I did.
Did you look at them, Paul?
Yes?
I mean, Ron? I'm so used to going that way.
Yes. Fine.
I didn't see any issues. Hopefully, Judy, you're fine with them. All right. Don't really need a motion. All in favor of accepting the minutes from March 15th signify with an aye.
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 Okay. Comments and non-agenda items. Anyone? Comments and non-agenda items? No? Do you have a comment or a non-agenda item?
No, I have no comment, I
I just have,
practice and visit you. I had company, that's why I was there.
Yeah.
How have you been? Well? Good. I lost my pen. You got a pen? Can't sign your minutes without
Want
a pen.
another one? Oh,
Hey,
that
there's
must be
my
your
pen. Thank
How
you.
did I get there?
I don't know.
you could probably use the,
I have to try to keep what's going on at the planning board.
Okay, I have a few things that,
Do you want to approve the,
oh, yes, ma'am, in the back. Will you please come to the podium and state your name?
You don't need to. Just to make things maybe easier to understand, I know that a lot of times the people come before you and explain what they're doing, okay? And then you have a public hearing, all right? I haven't been to any of the meetings. I came last time and you had 2 public hearings. But the gentleman who was doing the coffee shop on, the gentleman who's doing the coffee shop said, well, you guys know what I'm doing. But the public who had been invited or knew that it was a public hearing, who came, wouldn't have known what he was doing. My suggestion is that they make an actual presentation of what they're gonna be doing. Even though they made it to you when it's a public hearing, they should be making a full-blown presentation so that anyone who's here will understand what was going on. Does that make any sense
For a public hearing?
for a public hearing?
Right, this wasn't one.
I understand it,
Oh.
but at the last meeting, it was a public hearing.
And he didn't get up and say
No,
anything?
he didn't get up, he sat there, and,
I don't
I'm not
remember.
picking on him, I don't know if that's the way it's been going, but he never got up and no one knew, or you people already knew what the hours of operation and everything else, the days and everything else. But no actual presentation was made to the general public that was here. Maybe there wasn't anybody listening, but I thought, geez, now that we're on TV,
Right.
in case, we're only doing the public hearings, it would be nice if the people could see what was the whole concept.
Well, past practice has been for that, so I don't recall
Okay.
him not making a presentation of
Yeah,
some sort.
I don't recall that either, but.
Usually they do, I ask him what's
Did
going
he
on. and are they
stand
up
up
to date?
and
He
talk
sat
from his chair?
From his chair,
From his chair?
yeah.
so it's point well taken, more
Yeah.
formal
Just
presentation.
even for
will
small
come.
things.
Just a thought.
Nice thought.
You might have to remind us every meeting.
Well, usually people get up and stand, I think it was just, I don't know, I don't remember him not doing it at the public hearing. So obviously he must have, if you weren't aware, so you would know.
Well, the thing is, I had no idea what he was doing. And, he spoke directly to the board, which was fine.
Yeah,
And you knew what he was doing, but anyone sitting here wouldn't understand or realize
Right.
the whole application. Just a suggestion.
no, good.
do you want to formally approve the minutes from the sidewalks?
Why do we have to do that?
They're minutes.
No, they're not, they're just notes, they're not technically minutes. Right? Are the site walk,
As far as I know.
they're just notes? That's what I thought, I think that's the impression I'm under.
Okay, I thought
I
she'd
mean, we
called-
could do it, just to make sure.
No,
that
that's
we-
fine. I thought she'd called the minutes, but you're right.
Are they notes? Does it say notes?
No, I would just say, it
says
doesn't say
site
anything.
visit.
Yeah.
Oh, it just says a site visit?
They're not really minutes, though, I don't think.
Yep, that's fine.
Yeah, no, they're not, they're generalities, just notes. Okay. So, the town manager gave us a memo, for going forward, hindsight's 2020, and maybe this is some more food for thought that the planning board can take. His memo to the planning board is, with the circumstances that are unfolding with the affordable housing project, I think we need to review our process. As I understand, when a project has been approved by the planning board, a copy of the findings of fact is submitted to the CEO office. The findings of fact provide the CEO with valuable information upon any conditions which may have been placed upon an approved project, so he has recognized parameters to work under. Generally, this process works well for the town. However, I would like to see implemented in the findings of fact also reference any and all signed and approved plans by the planning board, which I think is a good thing to do, because if he pulls it, sees the file and says, please refer to set plans, it's just an added thing that Joan will put in to the findings of fact. Has he talked to you about that at all?
We got a copy. Did you get a copy? Yeah, we got a copy.
Okay. With reference made to the sign plan, provides the CEO another area to review to ensure that the plans submitted for a building permit are indeed what was reviewed and approved by the planning board.
Yeah, we had a discussion on that a week ago, not a week ago, probably Eve and myself, and that we decided that we need some changes.
But I'm a
Here they
little
are.
confused. One point I'm curious about. What is the primary document? The signed plan that's registered, or the findings of fact?
The-
What do you mean primary document? The one that controls what happens on site?
With documentation, like construction documentation, blueprints and stuff, you know, there's a specification index, there's drawings, approved drawings with the architect's stamp on it, et cetera, et cetera. One document is considered as the primary document. Usually it's the plans because it has the architect's stamp on it. And notes on the document say have our second priority. Specification index is a third priority. Field sketches, as they come in, become fourth priority and stuff. Now, if we want everything to be at the same level, that's fine. But then it'll have to be noted somewhere, I would think, that the registered plan that's filed with the registry, the signed plan that's filed with the registry, there has to be some connection, say, between that and the findings of fact maybe should get registered also then.
Well, even the finished plans, I don't believe they register in Alfred every page on the plan. Usually it's only, I think, it puts people on notice as a project there, and only the front 3-4 pages with the signatures and with, you know, just the general concept. You don't have your, you know, stormwater information. I don't believe any of that is, am I wrong in that? I'm pretty sure only a few pages make it to Alfred.
I believe so, I believe you're right.
Yeah.
So it's basically just the cover sheet with the signatures and the architect's
That's what I-
design and stamp and stuff? So the whole packet doesn't get registered? Okay.
Yeah, they would run out of room. And some
Oh,
of
we
these
will.
get pretty thick.
Well, that's fine. I think it's probably appropriate that there's some cross-referencing, but I don't know necessarily how or what we really can do about it. I think it's more code enforcement has to have the whole packet put together and stuff. I'm not sure what we can really do. Maybe I'm missing a point somewhere.
I think it's just another reference point on the findings of fact, to check the plans.
So on the findings of fact,
In other words, to be clear, like for the apartments, you know, 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom, efficiency, you know, the amount.
but that's on the
What-
notes on the signed document.
I
I
know, but-
disagree with that, because we could end up, you look at those signed document, that signed plan, we only say sign the cover sheet, but in reality, we're signing that whole package of plans, which includes footnotes all the way back to page 85 that show design of structures, the whole 9 yards. Are we going to include page 80, all those notes all the way to page 85? No.
I think what Bob Creighton was the one that kind of discussed it, meant that there was a gap, that Jim didn't have the complete information, that he thought there was a gap between the planning board and Jim. Now, I think if he had all, whatever you did, if he had a copy of it to read, so he would know that.
The,
After we sign a plan, some of the pages get registered in Alfred,
Yeah.
and then I think they bring back to the town a couple copies of the plan with signatures and the stamp from the county.
But I think.
And I think that's a complete set of plans that comes back.
But the thing that, well, and I'm not sure, the one that I look at, didn't give the number of bedrooms on it.
It didn't, it never mentioned the number of bedrooms at all.
No, that's the one I saw.
well, which,
The ones with the number of bedrooms was,
wait. The sheets that had signatures on it from the planning board. I wasn't on the planning board at that time. I was
see all that.
I was on my hiatus from the planning board at that period of time. But I have looked at both the original signed copy with 3 planning board members on it, which is sheet number 1. When the project was first approved, I looked at this on Thursday. And I also looked at the parking lot amendment for the 4 parking spaces, because they originally had 13 out front, and they reduced it to 4, which was signed off in February, I think, of this year. I looked at both those. Both those cover sheets, which is the first page, has the notes that I think address 1 and 2 family. They're the sheets that have the calculations for density, the wetlands, and all of that. And I'm almost sure that both those sheets have that information. And those are the ones that are signed by the planning board. Now, I'm willing to admit, there's lots of copies of stuff flying around this office for that project, because when I first came in to find out density information about a month ago, Joan gave me a set of plans. I didn't look close enough, and it showed density calculations that weren't the approved density calculations. And I questioned Keith and John about that, and Keith said, no, John's calculations were from the stamped plan. And at which point, I should have known better, having worked as a code enforcement officer. I should have known better. Oh, I should have looked for the stamp plan, not just grabbed the first set of plans that came across. So right now, there's several sets of plans flying around. Some of those plans, have the information, but regardless of whether they have the information, if they're not a stamp plan, then they're not a valid plan. And it's the same with whatever was submitted to Jim for the building permit should have had an architect stamp on it. I don't know if it did. The plans that you signed off on for the building permit had their architect.
Presented to me for the building permit. I had the conditional use with the findings of facts and the conditions upon that conditional use. Did not mention the number of bedrooms in any of those units. But the thing is that what John went over, the plans that John went over and made notes on, made recommendations on, was a different set of plans than what the planning board got inside.
Do we have in our file here the plan for the abatement project that has the county registry of deeds book and page on it?
Yep.
I don't know what we're doing.
That should be the controlling document that, you always go back to, I would think, because that's complete. And it's the one that was examined for a length of time and approved.
This is the stamped signed drawing with a return stamp from the clerk's office. This is our February 3rd drawing. I mean, the February 3rd, the planning board amended.
2010, or that's...
11. That's when Mr. Bateman came in and said, we've managed to get it down to only 4 parking spaces. This is a Xerox of that page. It's got the
That's
registry stamp.
2011 then?
Yep. It's got the registry stamp on it here, April 6, 2011. And total, note number 3, total units equal 34. 13 2-bedroom, 19 1-bedroom, 2 efficiency bedroom.
Same as the original, the 34
Yep.
that were approved.
This is same as, here's the one from,
I have a copy of that.
so the information is on the plan that's registered. the plan has the registry stamp on it, and I didn't do the whole thing, but on the far corner of this plan, there's 5 planning board members' signatures, my being one of them, Paul was one, Kerry was one, I think Ron was probably.
But that's good if that's registered.
And I agree, maybe there should be more of a reference to a specific drawing in the finding of facts, but trying to annotate in the finding of facts, you know, this wasn't a really big set of plans, but some projects have got 200 pages in that set of plans that comes before, you know, for the permitting process. You're not going to be able to annotate everything in that. And my feeling strongly is anything that's presented to the board, to Jim, as documents for a project, need to be stamped by the professional that designed them or is responsible for them. And he's culpable if all that document package doesn't match for what was originally approved. I mean, and I've been around a lot of construction projects, a lot of things, and code enforcement, and it's just the way.
You think we're all secure?
Personally, I don't think anybody's at fault here.
So is it gonna hurt if we,
We can add stuff to that,
it's not
but
gonna hurt anything?
I agree, except for the fact that it's like yes, but what if there's then a discrepancy between what's on the stamp drawing and something in the finding of fact? Say this stamp drawing said
But the findings
25.
of fact should be coming off the plan, the,
I agree, but typos and.
It's just another
errors-
place for discrepancy, is what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Say this said 25 parking spaces and the finding of fact said 10.
Which one takes hold?
Or said
Yeah.
15 instead of 25. Which one takes priority? To me, this one
the
does.
plan, because the findings of fact somebody typed up and that could be human error anyway. I mean, you take that risk in findings of fact anyway, this is just a double check.
Well, okay. What information then do we want to take out of this packet of plans? That, as I said, could be 10 pages, it could be 100 pages long.
Please refer to plan what, I mean, I don't understand really what you're, in other words, they want the findings of fact to refer to the plans. So there's never a discrepancy again,
You know,
such as what happened
The findings
now.
of fact are never, that no one, there's no stamp of an engineer and, you know, has reviewed these. I mean,
That's true.
to me, they hold less water than the
Right.
actual plan itself that is stamped by professionals.
It's another check and balance, really, hopefully,
But if
that
you
there's no
If you start
typos.
pointing back and forth between findings of fact and a plan and stuff, you're probably gonna enter into more errors, there's a good chance of it, when you start referring back and forth. Everything should point back to one thing, or
To the plan,
to the plan.
right, so if you refer the findings of fact to the
Yeah.
plan,
And maybe adding more information like the date of the plan
But
and.
then I agree with that.
Yeah.
It may be just much more beneficial that such and such dated plan stamped by such and such engineer or whatever, you know, with a certain date by a certain design firm or something, would be the type of information that would tie those two together. But trying to put some of the information that's on this plan then into the finding of fact, I think we're getting
and
too
if-
close to making too many
And
errors.
if we ever did that, we should certify that the findings of fact are accurate and the same as what is on the registered plan.
you wipe all that out when you just say refer to the,
Yeah. I think that's the easiest and best way to do it.
And the other possibility is, plans that have architects, engineers stamps, maybe the finding of fact should be
Should be included.
reviewed and stamped by them also, that they agree that the information, because we could put information into a finding of fact that
That's not in the plan.
they found contrary to.
Uh,
I don't know.
It's still a matter of record, I mean, because, it's an important record, and it comes through in the final approval. You can make mistakes no matter what you do, but I would think having information in one place and then referring to that one
Yeah.
place is the safest way to do it, for me. And if, maybe it would make sense to take the findings of fact at the time of approval and incorporate those as part of the document that goes to Alfred. and that becomes part of the stamp, you know, the engineer
It becomes,
would
it
have.
becomes registered with the
review
deed,
it.
that might be another thing too.
For big projects, I think we may have that at our discretion, because I don't believe in our ordinance it really tells us how to do these things.
No, it
these
doesn't.
bookkeeping things,
It doesn't.
yeah.
I mean, there may be things at the state level that are discussed, how plans, registering of approved planning board plans, findings of fact is supposed to be dealt with. That may be all documented in a statute somewheres that I haven't seen or found, or haven't even looked very hard to try to find. In fact, I haven't looked at all for it.
All right, so we're good with this request? How do you feel?
I think we should cross-reference things, but I think we should not try to incorporate in the findings of fact
All the details of.
The details
all
of
the
the
cover
plan.
sheet notes, because we really concentrate on, when we're doing a review of a project, we concentrate on the notes that are going into
The plan.
the plans. The findings of fact are more of the conditions that we're putting on something that are above and beyond, quite often, what's in the plan.
We've discussed that before, that we've wanted the engineers and the people submitting projects to put notes, add notes to their plans when we feel is important enough, so that when somebody that goes to Alfred and looks at the plan, they're usually on the first sheet or the second sheet, usually the first sheet, I think, right?
Yeah.
So you can see those, you can scan the notes.
Plus, in the
pretty
case of
quickly.
of a subdivision, we don't have a conditional use, I don't think usually.
Yeah.
And we don't have a finding of fact for subdivision. So I agree, there probably should be some better cross-referencing, but I don't think we want to go down the road where we've got to select out what are all the key things in this bunch of plan sheets and make sure that that gets typed by Joan onto the
Well, that's
finding
why I
of
think
fact.
the referral to the plan, it just targets one point, like Paul said, and
And try to
just put
do
a
as-
reference down, that's it.
And try to do as good a job as we can by putting, you know, the appropriate notes on the plan.
Right, making sure that those are on there. That's our job.
What is he specifically asking for the
For
findings
us
of fact to,
What in our findings in fact include referring to the signed plan. That's it. And to make sure that on our plans, we get the architect to put those notes on there if we have
Right, okay.
anything. I'm fine with it.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. So Joan, you'll make that happen? Okay. So, the only other, oh yeah, I knew this, okay, another non-agenda item. Frank Underwood submitted to the Board of Selectmen, a suggested warrant article. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate a certain amount of money for the purpose to prepare an update to the comprehensive master plan for the urban overlay district, inclusive of the SCI and the CI districts and their immediate neighborhoods. Said funds to be used for expenses and professional services to assist the town in the development of a vision for the urban overlay district to be incorporated into the comprehensive master plan update for the town of Berwick, Maine. Or he has another suggestion of in the town budget, under miscellaneous expenses and off-budget articles, place a certain amount of money in the economic development line item.
I thought that from what he gave us a packet, so when I read it, and I thought sounded good to me. How much money do you think it would need?
What, seed money? 50, 60,000.
I was gonna say 50.
I was gonna say 30, 40.
Okay, Paul.
Well, I mean, it depends how, who you're gonna get and how far they're gonna go, and if they're gonna try to get more grassroots involved.
Yeah,
or-
I think Frank is gonna come in and.
I think he's volunteering.
Yes, he is volunteering, and he's already had some others that.
This has been something he's spoken about for a long
He
time.
feels strongly about
And
that.
I think and I was kind of excited about it, so.
Yeah.
it was really
Well, he
nice.
was on the Economic Development Committee of several years ago.
Yeah, with you, he said last time he
And,
was.
Yeah.
So I was, I thought, it sounded like a darn good idea, especially with what we've got across the street.
Well, it's the driving reason for a lot of this is that there's the Catholic Church, that there's several things that can either destroy the town or make it great.
I was thinking of going by the Catholic Church. I said, wouldn't it be nice if we could buy it?
You know what's interesting, Eleanor? I just heard today that the old Merck, Biddeford
Yeah,
Waste to Energy,
they're trying to sell it.
they're shutting it down,
Well,
and they think in 30 days, the town of Biddeford is going to own it, and the town of Biddeford is saying it will take about a year before they recoup whatever they have to pay for it. They're actually gonna put cell phone, the big chimney that goes up above the mills there, they're gonna put cell phone
It's a
antennas
whole
to start
article
with
in
there.
the front
Get
page of
immediate
the
money from it.
Herald today.
Could use some cell phone towers on the chimney here.
And they're gonna develop that down. But you remember
It's not
when
tall
they put
enough.
it there 25 years ago, it was really, I'm very controversial. I remember of going through that while they was doing it. And a lot of Biddeford people were very unhappy with their council when they did that.
Well, their situation is not unlike what we have in Berwick right now.
Actually, that's true. But, the trucks, the amount of trucks that went in there every day, I mean, that's not a very wide street.
Kind of made me think of Berwick when I heard that.
Yeah, there's the whole article in the Portland Press today on that.
I just have one quick thing that I want to discuss.
Is that still on?
Madam Chair,
Yes. Oh, sorry.
I just have one thing I want to
Go ahead.
discuss. Actually, I asked Joan, I don't know if she has the information with her right now, but I asked her to make up a list like Judy used to do on what's out there for approved subdivisions, et cetera, that we should probably review. I don't want to do it right now, even if she's got the list.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
It's gonna take me a while. to
That's
put all
okay.
that together.
But one of the things that piqued my interest was Mr. Blood when he came in here and stuff, and his subdivision is vacated now because that was 6 years ago, and the ordinance at that time said 5 years. Now we've revised the ordinance a few years ago, then 2008 maybe?
I gave you the
Yeah, there's a note somewhere in this pile. Now it's 3 years.
2009.
2009. So he would fall under the other one because his subdivision was approved prior, but regardless, his subdivision says vacated. The thing that was interesting, though, that he mentioned, and I didn't realize it, but then I looked at the ordinances, he made some comment about he was still being taxed for subdivision lots, et cetera, et cetera. In the ordinance, in the section that deals with that, it says that the planning board, basically when that date, after that date and the subdivision is vacated, that the planning board should send a note to the registry to be included in the
We've done that
file.
in the past. I think we sent an affidavit to Alfred. Does that ring any bells, Jim? I think we've done that.
Judy didn't remember ever doing that, Paul, so I've looked into that. MMA gave me some suggestions. So I've worked on that also. They are supposed to submit a letter to us.
The
Yeah.
subdivider,
Yes, requesting their subdivision to be disbanded,
No, the board,
Vacated.
vacated.
and then we in turn send them a certificate that they would take to Alfred and get it registered.
so the burden is on them to get it registered, that it's vacated, but our ordinance stands that after whatever, 3 years or 5 years for things that were grandfathered to the 5 year, no longer exist, regardless of whether that note's gone to.
Right. And
Okay.
what I'm looking at is putting the subdivision list together so I know who to approach and, in a reasonable amount of time and say, do you want to continue the subdivision, do you want to vacate it? If so, provide us with a letter, and I have a sample letter that they can, I can fill it out and they can just sign it if they want to, just to get the process done.
Okay. Joan's already dealing with it, but I thought it would be good that if we had a list of subdivisions that are out there, so we kind of knew who might be looking to get things updated or amended.
subdivisions that are partially complete, not
Or
started.
ones that haven't even started, ones that aren't at the point of substantial completion, so that they, because the language in the ordinance is, it doesn't matter if they've started. You know, we talk about phased subdivisions and
Yep.
stuff, that, you know, it's 3 years, blah, blah, blah. That's all I have.
Okay, that's really all that I have for our agenda items. Anybody else have any?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Any non-agenda items you'd like to talk to us about? You guys, anything? All right, we are adjourned.
Been an hour. It's about as good as it gets.
This is all good stuff.
There's no chance. How soon could we, I think changing this parking,
Jim,